I doubt it is debatable that the best team of the modern era of basketball is none other than the Golden State Warriors. It is a thing to dominate, it's another to do it like the Golden State Warriors did. By all and every single definition of dominance and a dynasty, the Bay Area team was that and more. A team built off what many called several bad decisions and terrible management. This is one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. This is the Golden State Warriors dynasty.
Since I can remember, I've never seen a starting five this potent. You got a 4-time scoring champion.
Yep.
You have 2-time Finals MVP and a regular season MVP in KD. You have a 2-time MVP in Steph, unanimous decision MVP,
Yep.
and 3-time champion in Steph, MVP of the Finals in Iguodala, Defensive Player of the Year in Draymond. Klay Thompson is one of the greatest shooters of all time. Come on, man, do I need to keep going? I mean, I haven't seen anything like this, ever.
For nearly 2 decades, the Chicago Bulls were widely regarded as the last and most dominant dynasty in NBA history. However, nearly 3 decades later, opinions have shifted to the Golden State Warriors, a dynasty that made it to the NBA Finals 6 times in 8 years and has the most regular season wins in NBA history. In retrospect, this Warriors dynasty might have been inevitable, but to all who witnessed the beginning of this dynasty, it was shocking and shouldn't have been. This is a team that drafted Wilt Chamberlain, Rick Barry, Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullin, Chris Webber, Gilbert Arenas, and Vince Carter in different years and decades, and failed to make it work, let alone form a dynasty with these talents, only to form one with unknown players. After all, every new era in the NBA starts with a generational superstar and several good decisions. But the Golden State Warriors started with none. No superstar draft and several unpopular decisions made this dynasty. From drafting a small and skinny Steph Curry in 2009,
that Steph Curry is the best shooter available in this draft. And the question is, can he make the transition to the point guard spot? Is he going to be strong enough against NBA defenders over the course of an 82-game schedule to get the ball in the operational area? Is he going to understand time, score, and situations?
Choosing between fan favorite Monta Ellis and an injury-prone Steph Curry,
4 years, $44 million. That's essentially $11 million a year for a guy with no ankles. That's a horrible contract. No, he played 26 games last year. He's still hurt now. He's played a couple of games. He played a little bit in the preseason, but he was playing hurt. And that's just not something you want from a guy who can do nothing but score. His assists aren't that great. He can't really rebound, but he's going to be hurt.
To appointing an inexperienced GM and head coach in Bob Meyer and Steve Kerr. Well, all these gambles paid off in the 2014-2015 NBA season, the very beginning of the Golden State Warriors dynasty. In May 2014, Steve Kerr turned down the New York Knicks and accepted the Golden State Warriors head coaching job. At the time, the team was nothing but an up-and-coming team, having won their most games in 22 years in the previous season, only to lose in the first round of the playoffs. However, heading into the 2014-2015 season, the team and its front office were more than determined to improve on their previous season's performance. They signed veteran guards such as Leandro Barbosa and Sean Livingston to back up Steph Curry and help the team's other all-star David Lee. Unfortunately, David Lee got injured in the final game of the preseason, but this only turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as Steve Kerr moved Draymond Green into the lineup, and the rest is history. With a death lineup of Curry, Klay Thompson, Harrison Barnes, Andre Iguodala, and Draymond Green, no one stood a chance against the Warriors on both ends of the court. They finished the regular season with 67 wins, the top defensive rating, and the second-best offensive rating. No team in the NBA could match the Warriors' spacing and pace, as they finished the season #1 in points, assists, pace, and three-point shooting. Klay Thompson broke out into an all-star as he averaged 21.7 points on 43.9% shooting from behind the arc. Draymond Green started all 79 games he played averaging 11.7 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 3.7 assists, while Steph Curry had an MVP season. The point guard averaged 23.8 points, 7.7 assists, 4.3 rebounds, and 2.0 steals per game. Even Bob Meyer won the Executive of the Year award. For many, this was impressive, but regular season dominance hasn't always guaranteed a championship. So these new-faced Golden State Warriors didn't have many believers. In over 40 years, they hadn't won a championship. And for many, this wasn't about to change just because they had the best record in the league. Surprisingly, this Warriors team was determined to prove everyone wrong and show the world that this was their time. On their way to their first NBA Finals appearance since 1975, they defeated the Pelicans, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Houston Rockets, dropping only 3 games. They swept the Pelicans with Steph averaging 33.8 points, 7.3 assists, and 5.3 rebounds, and Klay averaging 25 points on 48.6% shooting. The Memphis Grizzlies caused some panic, but the Warriors made sure that series ended in 6 games and the Rockets in 5 games. Now, the only thing standing in their way was a LeBron James-led Cleveland Cavaliers, and despite the absence of Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love, the Warriors in the 2015 NBA Finals were underdogs. For most NBA fans, it didn't come as a surprise that the Cavs took a 2-1 lead in the series. However, in a surprising turn of events, Steve Kerr decided to insert Andre Iguodala into the starting lineup, and that changed the 2015 NBA Finals. With Iguodala replacing Andrew Bogut, the Warriors went on to win the last 3 games and the series in 6, winning their first NBA championship title in 40 years and their 4th in franchise history.
Warriors are the 2015 NBA champions.
Hours in, the hard work, the practice, fight through injuries.
Iguodala also won the Finals MVP.
It could have been a lot of these guys, but there can only be one MVP. And this year's MVP is a player who didn't start in a single game until these finals. This year's Bill Russell MVP, Andre Iguodala.
But while their path to a championship was not easy, there was an asterisk on the title because both Kyrie and Kevin Love were injured in the finals. So going into the 2015-2016 NBA season, the Golden State Warriors were more than determined to not only show the world that there were legitimate champions, but that this was the start of a dynasty. And in what would be the greatest regular season by any NBA team in history, the Warriors started the season with an unbelievable 24-game winning streak. Led by Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, the Warriors scored 100-plus points in every game during this streak. Their 24-game winning streak eclipsed the previous best start in NBA history, and in fact, the best start to a season in all of the major professional sports in America. Truth be told, no one in the NBA had an answer for this Warriors team. They were the defending champions with a target on their back, and yet they were hunting teams down. The Warriors ended the regular season with a 73-9, breaking the 1995-96 Chicago Bulls record of 72-10. Throughout the 2015-16 NBA season, Golden State broke over 25 NBA records and more than 10 franchise records, including the most wins ever recorded in an NBA season, regular season, and postseason combined. With almost the same roster from the previous season, they completely dominated the NBA. Well, how could they not when the franchise player Steph Curry was busy breaking his own NBA record for made three-pointers in a season by 126 points, winning a scoring title while leading the league in steals, and not to mention becoming the 7th player in NBA history to join the 50-40-90 club. Steph Curry's performance that season made him the first unanimous MVP in NBA history.
I love that commercial. I really, really do. But let me say this. Ladies and gentlemen, Steph Curry is shooting 59.5% from the field. Steph Curry is shooting 48.8% from three-point range. This ball goes up, it's going in. It's going in. And what's amazing about it is that we all know that 90% of his shots are coming from long distance, okay? I mean, this dude right here, he takes 21 shots a game, almost 11 are from three-point range. And this guy is shooting like this. This dude is on another level. He's averaging 37, 6, and 5. I mean, clearly he's on a mission. Because we talked about how the Warriors might have been a bit fraudulent because of the injuries. They're the champions, give them their respect, but blah, blah, blah. Steph Curry seems to have an attitude, and rather than talk about it, he seems to be taking it out on opponents. Now, 3 of the 4 opponents were New Orleans and Memphis.
With a legendary performance like that in the regular season, NBA fans and the media all expected the Warriors to dog-walk their way to their second consecutive championship. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. So after beating both the Houston Rockets and Portland Trail Blazers in a 5-game series each, the Warriors lost back-to-back games for the first time all season to the Oklahoma Thunders in the Western Conference Finals. However, Klay Thompson's legendary 11 threes in Game 6 and Steph's brilliance in Game 7 saw the Golden State Warriors book their second consecutive NBA Finals appearance. Overcoming a 1-3 lead to a Kevin Durant and Westbrook-led OKC team was far too impressive, and overcoming a 3-1 deficit, the Warriors decided to avoid making the same mistake in the NBA Finals, and as such, took a 3-1 lead against the Cavs in the NBA Finals. This was a Cavs team with a healthy Kyrie and Kevin Love to back LeBron James up, but shockingly, Draymond Green and the Warriors lost their heads. In no time, the Cavs found their way back to tie the series. From a 3-1 lead to a 3-3 tie after Game 6, Game 7 was a buster win for the Warriors, but unfortunately, LeBron and Kyrie happened in the few seconds of the game. If the Warriors had won, there was no debate that that team was the greatest in NBA history. However, they lost. They squandered a 3-1 lead in an NBA Final, becoming not only the first team in NBA history to squander a 3-1 lead in the NBA Finals, but also the first team in NBA history with 69 or more regular season wins that failed to win the NBA championship. However, there is no dynasty without setbacks. How they bounce back is what makes them a dynasty, and as such, the Golden State Warriors responded heavily in the 2016 offseason. They added one of the second-best players in the world at the time, Kevin Durant. Well, not everyone was pleased with the KD joining what was already a super team.
The news again coming in moments ago, Kevin Durant heading to the Golden State Warriors. How are you viewing this move from Durant?
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar. Plain and simple. That's just how I look at it.
The Warriors front office was able to sign KD while keeping all of their core players aside from Harrison Barnes and Andrew Bogut. The 2016-2017 Warriors had more offensive arsenal than any other team in NBA history. We're talking about a team that had 5 All-Stars, 2 league MVPs in KD and Steph, a Finals MVP in Iguodala, a defensive general in Draymond Green, and one of the best two-way shooters in NBA history, Klay Thompson. All in their prime. No one was getting in their way, and to be honest, everyone expected them to win it all. This team shattered records you've probably not heard of. In the 2016-2017 season, Kevin Durant played the best basketball of his career, having a supporting cast of a prime Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in offense. That season, the Warriors won 67 games and had the best offensive rating in the league and the second best defensive ratings in the NBA. But far from the ratings and records, this team cruised to the NBA Finals. En route to the 2017 NBA Finals, the Golden State Warriors didn't lose a single game, sweeping all 3 of their opponents in the West. This team went on a 15-0 run in the playoffs, and the only loss they had in the 2017 playoffs was against a familiar foe, LeBron James and the Cavs. And the defending champion was no match for this 2017 Golden State Warriors. The Warriors, alongside Kevin Durant, obliterated the Cavs.
Guarded by Irving. Listen to the roar. Back home. The Golden State Warriors are the 2017 NBA champions.
Congratulations, guys. You are the NBA champions.
It wasn't like the rest of the NBA just allowed the Dubs' dominance. This team's ability to stretch the floor, while having elite players that can knock down threes in succession, made it hard for any team to guard them. You couldn't guard them. You could only pray they missed their shots. In the 2017 NBA Finals, KD averaged 35.2 points, 8.2 rebounds, 5.4 assists, 1.6 blocks, and 1 steal per game on a shooting split of 50-40-90, while Steph Curry averaged 26.8 points, 9.4 assists, and 8 rebounds. The Golden State Warriors in their prime only had to beat themselves to even lose a game, and their dominance didn't come as a surprise to many as everyone expected it. The only question was if they could run it back, and for how long. Shockingly, the dynasty almost came crashing down the next season. In the 2017-2018 NBA season, the Warriors didn't look their best. But like every other dynasty, they sure knew how to get the job done. For the first time in 4 years, the Warriors won less than 67 games, dropped out of the league's top 10 in defensive rating, and lacked chemistry. Regardless, this team easily won the first round against the Spurs without Steph Curry, and later the Pelicans in the second round in 5 games. However, the 2018 Western Conference Finals were not going to be easy as they faced the #1 seed Houston Rockets and the league's MVP James Harden. And shockingly, the Rockets were inches away from defeating the Warriors. But thanks to a Chris Paul injury and 27 consecutive missed threes, the Golden State Warriors advanced to the NBA Finals for the 3rd straight season. Once again, they got to face the LeBron James-led Cavs, but LeBron's 51 points in Game 1 wasn't going to stop this super team from winning another championship.
Calderon will throw it up, and now they'll dribble it out. Final seconds here of this 2018 NBA season. There's the buzzer. There's a new dynasty in the NBA. The Golden State Warriors champions once again, back-to-back titles, 3 in 4 years. And
the Warriors completely swept the Cleveland Cavaliers. 2019 was another year to win another championship, a chance for a three-peat. Was it possible? Well, who wouldn't bet on a team with KD, Curry, Klay, and Draymond? At that point, the Golden State Warriors had cemented their dynasty. With 3 championships in 4 seasons, the throne was theirs, and a three-peat would only strengthen their claim to be the greatest dynasty of the modern era. Unfortunately, in the 2018-19 season, the team struggled, and the cracks in the dynasty became more obvious than ever. The Golden State Warriors finished the regular season with 57 wins, their lowest in 5 years. The team's chemistry problems became apparent after KD and Draymond got in each other's faces during a game against the Clippers. In the playoffs, both the Los Angeles Clippers and the Houston Rockets took the team to 6 games in the first and second rounds of the playoffs. This team lost KD to injury in Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinal and ended up playing the conference finals against Portland without the power forward. Without KD, the Warriors swept Portland but found trouble sweeping the Raptors. Aside from KD, Klay was out injured in Game 2, and even though KD eventually got back for Game 5, he sadly tore his Achilles, and in Game 6, Klay Thompson, who also returned from his injury, tore his ACL. With Steph as the only offensive star against the Kawhi-led Raptors defense, the point guard just couldn't carry the burden by himself, and as such, the Warriors missed a chance at a three-peat. The 2019 Finals defeat ended the dominant starting lineup of the Golden State Warriors. With both KD and Klay out injured for the year, Kevin Durant left the Warriors, signing for the Brooklyn Nets, and Andre Iguodala left for the Miami Heat. Without Klay, KD, and Iguodala, the 2019-2020 season was lost before it started. In 5th game of the season, Steph got injured and missed the rest of the season. And for the first time in 8 years, the Warriors had a losing season. It was their worst record in 67 years. The drop-off from the best offensive ratings to the worst was terrible for what was supposed to be the NBA's greatest dynasty. All hopes were on the Warriors to bounce back the next season, but Klay Thompson missed the entire 2020-21 season due to an Achilles tendon injury, and lottery pick James Wiseman tore his right meniscus, forcing him to also miss the entire season. And despite their best attempt to make the playoffs through the new play-in tournament, the team failed to get past the Memphis Grizzlies. For many NBA fans, this was proof that the Golden State Warriors dynasty had fallen and had come to an end.
I hate to say this right now, but to be honest with you, I don't see the Golden State Warriors bringing home another championship.
Y'all gonna sit on First Take. You and Dominique Foxworth are going to sit on First Take and say that Steph Curry will not be in the conversation for a championship in the next 4 years.
Steph Curry, however, was not having any of that. In his last press conference of the season, the franchise player said, "You don't want to see us next year."
Just didn't go our way. I don't know how many different ways to say it, but it was a special year, all things considered, and a new experience for me, Draymond Loon. Tried to make the most of it, come back, bottle this up, everybody make the right strides, take advantage of the summer, and don't want to see us next year.
The 22-21 season was championship or bust for the Golden State Warriors. They finally had their winning core in Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Iguodala, but all were now aging superstars. They had young talents in Gary Payton, Andrew Wiggins, and Jordan Poole, who turned out to be the third splash bro. Rookies, Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, and off-season signings like Otto Porter Jr. and Nemanja Bjelica, all played an important role in seeing the Warriors back in the playoffs. At the end of the regular season, the Golden State Warriors clinched the third seed in the Western Conference, with their flexibility and depth making the team look like a title contender for the first time in 2 years. En route to the finals, the 2022 Warriors faced the league's MVP, Nikola Jokic-led Nuggets, Ja Morant-led Grizzlies, and a Luka Doncic-led Mavericks, and lost only 3 games. For the 6th time in 8 years, the Golden State Warriors were back at the NBA Finals, this time facing the best defensive team in the league. But that didn't matter to Steph Curry, who was out on a mission. In that final series, Steph averaged 31.2 points on 48.2% shooting, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals per game. And the Golden State Warriors went on to win the finals and their 4th title in 8 years. And if everyone ever wondered if the dynasty was over, well, there was the answer that it was far from over.
The fact that when we started this season, a lot of conversations about who we were as a team and what we were capable of, and clearly remember some experts and talking heads putting up the big zero of how many championships we would have going forward because of everything that we went through. So,
in retrospect, what the Golden State Warriors have done in the NBA is not unprecedented, but at the same time, it was unlike any dynasty in the league's history. When comparing this dynasty to any other dynasty in NBA history, it ranks among the Chicago Bulls' pair of three-peats in the 1990s and the Boston Celtics' ridiculous championship monopoly of the 1960s. In fact, for many reasons, the Warriors dynasty stands alone. Through their first 3 championships, the dynasty had what is easily the best stretch of 4 consecutive seasons any NBA team has ever had. They had a 265-63 record, while the Chicago Bulls dynasty had a record 250-78 record over the same period. Well, that has never stopped NBA veterans and the media from picking the Bulls over the Warriors, with arguments ranging from hand-checking to how the game used to be played.
Are we playing at your time?
Salary cap.
Or are we playing now?
Okay.
Because hand-checking in their time,
right?
There's no hand-checking now. You touch them now, it's a foul. In their time, they can push you all around the court.
It would have been harder for the Warriors to score driving because in the 90s when you drove, you get chucked with a forearm.
All that running through the paint,
Running through the paint.
Man.
You get held. All these ticky-tack fouls from the 3 they wasn't called. And so, if they played in today's rules, maybe Golden State, because they have the advantage of today's rules. But if they played in the 90s, I don't think it'll be close.
Hard fouls are different. Flagrant fouls are different. Like what they're looking at for flagrant. Now, that was a typical foul.
Call it nostalgia or the truth, but NBA veterans and media picking the Chicago Bulls dynasty to sweep the Warriors dynasty is quite biased. The game has since evolved, but even at that, the Warriors dynasty dominated the league like never seen, and against all odds won another championship after a superstar like Kevin Durant left. Well, like Steph Curry said, I guess we will never know.
I gotta ask, fully healthy, do you believe the Warriors with KD could have beat the 96 Bulls in a 7-game finals? Absolutely. Obviously, we will never know, but you put us on paper with them, I like our chances. I'd say dubs in 6, too.